The United Nations is considering a measure that would call abortion, quote, a human right. Delegates are in the final phases of discussions. The resolution would declare access to safe abortion as a policy that all governments should pursue. The measure has a support from the Biden administration and most of the large European Union nations. A final vote is expected by the end of the month. And joining us now is Stefano Gennarini, based in New York. He is the Vice President of Legal Studies at the Center for Family and Human Rights. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we just want to ask you, why is this resolution being considered now, and ways that the Biden administration is pushing this measure?
Well, the Biden administration is one of the several delegations that support it. Several of the delegations that support it are from the European Union, and it's the most powerful countries in the European Union, including France and Germany, who are outspoken advocates for abortion internationally. Why at this specific moment? One of the reasons may be because of the Supreme Court ruling in the Dobbs case earlier this year, where Roe v. Wade was reversed and overturned. This is a way to promote abortion internationally, and it's a way to bypass the state legislatures once again. If abortion is an international right, then the American people or the people of any country around the world have nothing to say about it then.
And thankfully, not everyone is on board. Which countries have actually pushed back against this pro-abortion agenda?
For the most part, it's countries from Africa and the Middle East. Countries that have large Muslim majorities have been resisting this measure. It's also the Guatemala. Guatemala has also been outspoken against including abortion in a paragraph about human rights.
What happens next now? What happens if this resolution does pass?
Well, the resolution is not binding on states, but it can be used as evidence of a customary international right to abortion, so that if a domestic court, whether it's the Supreme Court of the United States or the Supreme Court of another country in the world, or an international court like the International Court of Justice, were to be asked if abortion is an international right, a resolution such as this and the language in it specifically tying human rights to access to safe abortion could be used as evidence that abortion has now become a customary, a human right under customary international law, which, you can have human rights that are said to be so by international treaty or by custom. And custom essentially means the repetition of an action or of a norm over time with the understanding that it is, in fact, an obligation under international law.
I mean, this is pretty scary stuff when you start having entire countries, and start adopting this resolution. What's your opinion about it all?
Well, I think aside from the concern about abortion becoming a human right, which is obviously for me as a Catholic, it's a moral concern. It also has to do with the integrity of the international system, especially when it comes to delivering aid. What happens is if abortion is part of UN policy, then it means that there sort of creates a perverse incentive in international assistance. Until now, the consensus of UN member states was that abortion is something that should be decided at the national level without external interference from the United Nations, and that actually governments should help women avoid abortion. In a sense, past UN agreements about abortion cast abortion in a negative light. Not only should governments help women avoid abortion, but they should provide for mothers and their children with health and social support both before and after birth. And that there's always been the caveat in UN policy that abortion should never be promoted as a method of family planning, which comes from U.S. law, as you know. And all these resolutions that the Biden administration and the liberal European countries are trying to promote are trying to erode those caveats in UN policy that cast abortion in a negative light in order to promote abortion as a human right. And the problem is not only at the normative level, at the level of law, it's also at the level of the programs, because if abortion becomes the default response to rape, say for a UN agency in an emergency situation,
right,
or in a war-torn country, or in a humanitarian disaster after a flood or after a drought, essentially abortion is much cheaper than providing for a mother and her child. It's a lot
yes, it
easier
is.
to tell a mother, for a UN agency, to go in there and say, okay, we're just going to provide everybody for abortions. We don't have money to help everybody have their babies.
Right,
So
exactly.
that's a big problem.
I'm so sorry there. Yeah, well, I have to cut you off there. I'm sorry, we're just running out of time. Stefano Gennarini, thank you so much from the Center for Family and Human Rights. Thank you for your analysis.
Thank you.